Hello, and welcome back to NWEA MAP Growth Basics for Teachers. I'm Jean Potter, and I will be your guide for this session. In this module, we're concentrating specifically on the new student profile report. So we've opened up our page, we've logged in. On the opening page, you'll see that it highlights this new report, so you might want to check it out, but we're going to go directly into it. So go to MAP Growth Reports. Go to the Student Profile Report. Select the term rostered. In this case, I'm going to select the most recent, the school that you're at, and I'm doing this as a demo, using a demo from NWEA. So I'm using Mount Bachelor Middle School, and Frank Raband is by the teacher's name. And I'm going to choose the class that I want to choose. And then it will bring up, when I select students, it will bring up a list of students. I'm going to choose one sort of randomly and say View Student Profile. You would go through the same steps as you're choosing yours. It takes just a few seconds to load. And it comes up with a page that looks like this. This is the MAP Student Profile. Lots of information here. Let's go over it step by step. Student's name, the grade, and his ID will give information about each of the assessments that he has taken. It will allow me to print out this particular report. It doesn't print for the entire class. At this point, as far as I know, you print for each single student. If I want to move between students, I can either go back and forth using the arrows and just move back and forth between students, or I can use the two-person icon here, click on that, and that will bring up a list of students, and I can choose from someone in the list. Looking at it a little more closely, for each of the assessments, there is usually a highlight section. Lots of numbers here that as a teacher you're familiar with, but may not mean anything to your parents or to your students that you're talking to. It does tell what their length of test or the duration of their test and the test they took, what their score was. But then I like this highlights area that puts it in plain English so that I can visit with parents and students and talk about what his strengths were possibly, what he's ready for. This puts it in language that all of us can understand. I can close that and get it back out of the way. And as I do that, I can see a little more of the screen. The first box here, or the first column, compares Dean's results to others. So we can see that Dean is in the 73rd percentile. We can see that on the upcoming spring test, he's projected to be proficient. And this would be for Oklahoma teachers. This is probably what you're going to see for a while. In the next few months, we're hoping that the data from Oklahoma will allow us to be able to put this in to compare it to the Oklahoma State tests. Also gives a projection for the ACT College Readiness test, so I can project out on those. The central column talks about each of the instructional areas, and these would obviously be different for each of the assessments. It will show the RIT score. It also shows this 0 out of 6 strands. This is if you're using the MAP skills. Most of the Oklahoma schools are not, so you won't even be able to see this, so we're going to just kind of ignore that for right now. And then it looks at the goals, and we can customize the goals. We'll look at that in one of the upcoming sessions. If I scroll further down at the bottom of the page, it gives me a roadmap of what Dean has done over time. So Dean was in the average area here, and let me scroll back up for just a second. You can see with each of the assessments that we took, for each subject, it will tell me visually whether he's in the high area, like here, high average here, or low average, or if it were red, it would indicate that the student was in the low area. So that's a quick visual, and that does the same thing. So it color codes all the way through. We see that Dean's moved from an average student and had a great assessment in the winter of 2016 and moved up into the high area, fell back a little more, and then he's moving back up, but then he fell back again. So we can talk to Dean about what's going on with those different assessments. I can make this a little clearer by taking off things like the projected score, our typical performance, our district level, grade level mean, but I can leave those on. In this case, it looks like Dean is quite a bit higher than the average at almost all the way through, and he's somewhat higher than his district, although if the district growth proceeds, he's going to be, looks like almost average with the rest of his district. I can also see a linking study. I'm going to show you that. We talked about it earlier, but it will also put that on this graph so that I can see that Dean is hovering right here, almost on track. It's hard to see on here. From this down to this would be not on track. The slightly darker grays, this very short section right here, and Dean is just almost on that, on the cusp of that. So that's a conversation to have. Check back in our next one. We're going to be talking specifically about the instructional areas, and then there's going to be a section on the growth goals and how to set those. Thank you for coming, and I will talk to you later.